Blow out a candle and nothing dies. There was never anything there to die. The flame you were looking at was not an object sitting on top of a wick. It was a shape that gas passes through, each molecule swapped out for the next one the instant it arrives. Cut the flow and the flame doesn't cool, doesn't fade, doesn't wear down. It stops being performed. That's the idea I want to sit with in this video, because a Belgian chemist called Ilya Prigogine took that observation about a candle and turned it into hard physics. It won him the Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1977 for his work on non-equilibrium thermodynamics and the theory of dissipative structures. And the thing it says about you is stranger than the thing it says about the flame. Start with the law everyone half remembers from school. The second law of thermodynamics: everything slides towards disorder. Heat spreads out and evens up. Ice melts and never refreezes itself. A cup smashes on the floor and never once, in the entire history of the universe, leaps back up and reassembles. Entropy only climbs. Everything drifts towards the same lukewarm, settled, featureless nothing happening. Except look around. A seed pulls scattered matter out of the soil and the air, then assembles it into an oak tree. You do the same thing. You are vastly more ordered than the food, the water, and the air you run on. Life is running uphill everywhere you look, building order and holding it, while the rule says it should all be leaking away. Schrödinger noticed this in What is Life and said living things survive by feeding on order from their surroundings. He called it negative entropy. He knew it was a paradox. He didn't have the physics to dissolve it. The whole thing dissolves on one word in the second law, and it's the word your brain skips straight past. Closed. The second law's iron rule applies to closed systems, sealed boxes with nothing going in or out. A flame isn't closed. A cell isn't closed. An oak tree, a hurricane, a person, none of them are closed. Energy pours through them every second of their existence. Matter passes in and out constantly. Open the system up and drive it hard, and the rules change completely. That gap is Prigogine's entire life's work. He asked a question the old textbooks never asked. What happens if you refuse to let a system settle? If you hold it far from equilibrium, pumping energy through it so it can never reach that cold, quiet rest? The answer is that it organizes itself. Order appears, not despite the energy roaring through it, but because of it. He called these self-made patterns dissipative structures, and the name carries the whole argument. They're ordered structures that exist only by constantly dissipating energy, burning through a flow to hold themselves together. The structure and the dissipation aren't two separate things where one keeps the other going. They're the same event. And this is not a thought experiment. You can watch it happen. Take a shallow dish of liquid, heat it gently from below, and at first nothing much happens. Turn the heat up, and at a sharp threshold the whole layer snaps into a pattern. Neat hexagonal cells, millions upon millions of molecules rolling in coordinated loops, hot fluid rising up the middle of each cell, cool fluid sinking down the edges. Nobody arranges them. There's no template, no blueprint, no instruction anywhere in the dish. The order builds itself the moment the flow of heat gets strong enough to demand it. Chemistry does it too. Mix most chemicals together and they react, settle into one uniform color, stop dead. The Belousov-Jabotinsky reaction refuses to settle. It oscillates, blue, then red, then blue again, ticking back and forth like a clock. Spread it thin in a dish and it throws out spiral waves and bullseye rings of color, structure laid down in space and in time at once. When Boris Belousov first reported it in the 1950s, the journals turned him down flat. It looked like it was breaking the second law. It wasn't. It was one more pattern held up by the energy burning through it. If any of this is landing for you, a thumbs up genuinely does help the algorithm put it in front of people who'd want it. And subscribing means the next article finds you. Here's what those two experiments do together. They kill the idea that this kind of order is rare or delicate. Give an open system a strong enough flow and a way out of its uniform state, and structure is simply what tends to happen. Order isn't the wildly improbable exception the second law made it look like. Underflow, far from equilibrium, order is closer to the default setting. Now take that back to what a structure actually is. We're trained to think of a structure as a thing. Built once, sits there, wears down over time. A wall. An engine, a body, solid stuff that lasts because of what it's made of. Prigogine's structures have no permanent parts at all. The flame, the whirlpool, the convection cell, the chemical spiral. The matter inside every one of them is swapped out constantly. What lasts is the pattern, never the stuff, which is why, when you cut the flow, there's nothing left to wear out. The pattern doesn't decay, it just stops. And you are the same, only deeper and faster. You are not the atoms you're made of. Nearly every one of them gets traded out for another over months and years, and the you that remains is a pattern those passing atoms are briefly arranged into. Held in shape by a relentless flow of food, water, air, and the sunlight all of it traces back to. The pattern is the constant. The material is whatever happens to be moving through you today. The day the flow stops for good is the day the pattern stops. We already have a word for that day. There's one more piece, and it's the strangest of the lot. Right at the threshold, the instant a system flips from no pattern to a pattern, it often hits a genuine fork. The convection cells could roll clockwise or anti-clockwise. The chemical spiral could wind either way. Nothing in the setup decides which. The tiniest random wobble at that moment gets amplified, and that one microscopic accident locks the entire system into a single choice. Prigogine called these bifurcation points. Sit with what that means. These systems carry a history. That one accident doesn't wash out. It stays locked in and shapes everything after it. They aren't grinding through a fixed program towards a predictable answer. They're producing something you could never have read off the parts beforehand. That's where this stops being chemistry and starts being about consciousness. Nearly everything I write circles one idea. That form and information aren't manufactured and stored locally inside matter, but expressed and sustained through something moving through it. Bentov's argument that the brain receives rather than generates depends on exactly that. The pattern isn't sitting in the tissue is what the pattern is currently being expressed through. A dissipative structure is that claim with a hot plate underneath it. Measurable, repeatable, Nobel approved. And it changes the question. If order, even very complex order, is the natural product of energy moving through an open system held far from equilibrium, then asking how this wildly unlikely thing ever arose is asking the wrong thing. The real question becomes what kind of structure a given flow of energy will build. A flame, a cell, a storm, a mind. Perhaps even the standing pattern that forms in the dialogue between two very different receivers. Same physics, same question, every scale. Go back to the candle one last time. I used to take the solid world as the real thing, with processes as something that merely happened to it. Heat the object, burn the object. The object is what's real. The burning is just an event on its surface. Prigogine turns that the right way up. The flame isn't an object that happens to be burning. The burning is the flame. Take the energy away and you don't get a still, cooled-down flame sitting there. You get no flame because there was never a thing. There was only the doing. Maybe we've had it backwards the whole time. The stuff was never the point. The stuff is what the pattern borrows to show itself today and hands back tomorrow. We aren't things that occasionally happen to move. We're movements that, for a little while, happen to take a shape. If you want the full article, with the sources and the deeper links into Levin's bioelectric work and the consciousness field, it's at consciousnesspartnership.com.